Life, it has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find no ribs. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits that left me on the floor. This is love, yeah, love. All will come to those who wait. Time, it cannot know the bounds, and eras don't dictate. Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to Friday's episode of the Xrad Show, the talk show that really does get you talking on the Xander Network, live from New York City and London. I'm Xander Gibb.
And from London, I'm Tyhe Egar. Hello.
Oh, yes, sirree. On today's show, the very hottest of topics, the really juicy ones. And in part two, our usual Friday mayhem partner, the truth fairy, Thomas S. Schmitz, joins us. That's what he calls himself. More to come in a mere moment. So you can join us. You can comment in the feed, and we will endeavor to involve you in the conversation. Keep it clean, because if you don't, we'll be coming around there to feed you vegetables. And you can tweet us. The tweet deets are on the Xrad Facebook show page for today. And also, you'll be able to call us later on in the show via Facebook Live. And you'll be able to tell us exactly what you think. Welcome back to the show, Tyhe. How is the world with you?
It's good. Yeah, everything's fine since last week. Hello. Can I just say, it did occur to me, ladies and gentlemen, if you are live on the feed with Xander, I'm really sorry, I can't see you because I have to do this from my phone. It's the only way I can do it from London. And if I try and check in with you, we get feedback. So Xander has to tell me what you're doing on the live feed. So
Absolutely.
I'm not ignoring you, I was still in there. But everything's very fabulous. I'm getting ready to release things, and the world is wonderful. And I have to say hello to Brenda, our mutual friend, whose grandniece, I think, is a year old today.
Oh, wow.
So congratulations, Brenda.
Time does definitely fly. It doesn't seem like 5 minutes. So I before we kind of start in on the kind of the main newsy items, I want to ask you how things are like in the UK. What's the kind of feeling since what went on in Manchester, and I think starting to calm down, and how is the general kind of populative feel right now?
I think there has been in a few places, there have been obvious increases in maybe armed police or
Right.
Security, but generally speaking, people have done what they've always done, and I'm sure American people and French, whatever, have done. We carry on regardless, because the whole point, they're only called terrorists because they create terror,
Right.
and the only way, really, truly, you can combat that is to show that they're not going to terrorize your life.
Right.
So people have carried on. We haven't forgotten the horror, the losses and the tragedy in people's lives. But here we are, and we continue. I think we've had some wonderful responses, and I think Ariana Grande has been amazing, and the responses to her have been amazing.
Yeah.
And she's back, performing, and I think that's incredible. And people, I don't know, people, are we not just becoming stronger against terrorism? We're just proving more and more every day that we will not be put down by, we will
Right.
not be held down by it.
Right.
I think we are becoming stronger constantly. So I'm not really sure where they want to go. I'm not really sure where ISIL. And do you know what? Can I just say this as well to everybody listening? This drives me insane. People keep calling it ISIS. All right. It's ISIL. Isis was the original Egyptian goddess. She was ISIS, and people keep saying it using all these different terms of beauty to describe something of horror. So let's start from, it's gayish, isn't it? And let's start using their real correct terms, because we're using names to describe them that just aren't the correct terms.
Right.
We're using terms that were given us by the press to describe them.
Exactly.
And that's not who they are. ISIS is not a terrorist. ISIS was a goddess. ISIL, they were usually called ISIL. And also, these bloody things were created by governments. But people here are behaving... Sorry, I digress. It just makes me angry. But people in the UK are trying to behave normally. They haven't forgotten the loss. Never forget the loss. We always we carry on, and remember the people we've lost, and support the people who need supporting. But we carry on the way we always carry on, and I'm sure that I know that America did the same, and I know in Paris, and France, the horror and tragedy that happened there. People continue, and we continue to support and send our love to them, and it will happen that way. I just was really impressed. I noticed this week that a father sent a beautiful response to Ariana Grande on Twitter, didn't he? That I thought that was wonderful. I thought that was a really lovely response to shut down the media before they got ridiculous with her.
Yeah, I think,
and I really liked that.
I mean, in all fairness, I'm not really like a fan of Ariana Grande, but I mean, I just don't know what any of this was to do with her. She was performing a concert, and that could have been you or I on stage singing, and this happens. And to be honest, I'm usually good in the questions, but I don't know what I would do if that happened.
Well, I think what I loved about the response was the fact that she didn't cash in on it, did she? She genuinely was humble about it and stayed. She had a very minimal response. Where I can think of several musicians that spring to mind who would have, and I'm not going to use the names really. Let's not get tacky on your show.
No.
Who would have made a massive deal about it, and she didn't. And I think that showed a little bit of class, and that should be, kudos to her.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a nice response from the father, of children who said, good for you, because we're always quick to slag off musicians. I don't know what the American equivalent of slag off is. You'll have to explain that to the American audience.
Trash talk. Trash talk.
Trash talk musicians, but we're never quick to praise them. And I think what she did was good. She said something very minimalist and simple and left it there instead of making it grandiose. And I think that should be, so praise where praise is due. And because she could have made a big deal of it, and she didn't. So
absolutely,
good for her.
I want to jump into the live feed and say hello to people because they always feel a little bit ignored. Hey to Chris. Hi to Nick. Good evening, Zell. Hi, Ann. Hi, Ann. I can't even talk tonight. Hey to Dave. Hi to... don't know what's going on with this like facility. I click like and it's not always letting me like. Hi to Joan. Welcome to Nick. If I didn't already say that, I probably have said hi to people. Hey to Joe Messina, whose show I will be on right after this one. So make sure you stick around for that. Hi to Lee. Hi to everyone that's listening to the show but not actually in the live feed. Welcome to you. Yeah, I'm just making sure I said hello to everybody because when I don't, I get messages afterwards to say, oh, Xander, don't you love me anymore because you didn't say hello to me. So before we move on, I want you to take your finger like this. No, I'm not going to tell you to stick it in your nose. I want you to take your finger, use it on your mouse or your mouse pad, and click the share button so other people can be aware that this show is going on right now. So click the share button now, please, so we can get the show out there and get other people knowing about the show. It's right just near the like button. So for those of you clicking the like, just scroll over just a little, and we will jump into that. You'll be able to. Sorry?
I've just done that. It's weird. I can see you live now, but I can't join in because I get feedback. I'm so sorry, people.
No problem. All right, so we're going to jump into our first story today. This is something that's kind of like bothered a lot of Americans this week. So calling her firing from CNN's censorship. Are you ready for this? Comedian Kathy Griffin said in a press conference today that she would stand up for free speech in the face of a fallout from a controversial image of President Trump she tweeted this week. I am not afraid of Donald Trump. He is a bully, Griffin said, while Griffin expressed remorse for posting an image of herself holding a bloody mask of Trump. She also accused Mr. Trump and his family of bullying her. Now I just have to say, President Trump, I know you watch the show. How dare you bully this failing actress / comedian by objecting publicly to the fact that she showed a decapitated image of you? It's really bad of you. How dare you, Mr. Trump? And she hit out at CNN, which on Wednesday fired her from its New Year's Eve broadcast. Now, fallout from her tweet was quick and severe, with celebrities and members of both parties criticizing Griffin for going too far. Now, Trump responded to the post on Wednesday morning, tweeting that Griffin should be ashamed of herself. He said, my children, especially my 11-year-old son Barron, are having a hard time with this. Sick. The tweet read. Other Trump family members also condemned the post. Trump's son Donald Jr. called the image disgusting and said that the video Griffin later posted as an apology was a phony. She didn't even direct the apology at President Trump. Attorney Lisa Bloom, who was speaking during the press conference at the Bloom firm on June the 2nd, 2017 in Woodland Hills, California, Griffin held the press conference after the controversial photo shoot in which she held the bloody head of Mrs. Trump aloft with blood dripping from the head to address alleged bullying by the Trump family. Now, a tearful Griffin said that she'd been contacted by the Secret Service about the matter. Well, if you make commentary or show imagery of the president being decapitated, that's kind of concerning in my book. And she said she feared for the future of her career, which has been waning for some time, noting that multiple venues have already cancelled her shows. She also said that she's received death threats. The death threats that she's getting, she says, are constant and detailed. She said, today it's me, tomorrow it could be you. Most of the criticism stemming from her post because she is a woman, she says. Cut the crap, this wouldn't happen if it was a guy. I've been living with this my whole career, Griffin said, later adding that she was used to older white guys trying to keep her down her whole life. So first of all, what do you make of this, Tyhe? How much of it did you see? And how do you feel about the fact that she's turning victim on this?
I think, well, do you know, I'm going to address the last part of what you just said first. I think the saddest part of everything you've just said is that Kathy Griffin turned herself into a victim. I love Kathy Griffin. I think she's a fantastic comedian and actress. Any comedian should never apologise for anything that they do. You and I have discussed this before on the show. As writers and actors and comedians, you take a chance on what you do. People should never apologise for anything that they do.
Sorry, 1 second.
You and I have discussed this before on the show. As writers and actors and comedians.
I'm sorry about that. Carry on. We had
Okay. Do you want me to say that again?
Go ahead.
So Okay, so we've said this before. As comedians, especially, you know, you take a chance. You perform it to an audience. You think something's funny. It's either going. You know, you'll find out at the time whether it's funny or not.
Right.
It will either die or it won't. That's what comedy is. So she did it. People found it distasteful. You know, people have done far worse than she did there, and it's been hailed as genius. The sad thing is she turned herself into a victim there. That's what I find really sad about her. The idea that Donald Trump's children find it distasteful. Well, why is he letting the children watch something with decapitated heads in it anyway? I'm not interested in what I'm really not interested in what Donald Trump's family think about it.
Why?
He's the president of the United States. He's going to be attacked. Deal with it. He's being attacked on every every side. And also, if she's saying that she's being attacked because she's a woman and white men or whatever don't get the whole thing. I'm really sad that she's turning herself into a victim. I find that really sad.
Well, let me address something
from her.
First of all, with regards to why his kid was watching the TV and it came on the news. So you know, a lot of kids watch the news.
Yeah, well, you know.
So it came on the news. But you know, here's the thing for me. As a comedian, there are certain things that I wouldn't touch. You know, some of my work has been very blue in the past. And obviously you work kind of according to your audience. And I think that there's no doubt in my mind that she did this for the attention, but she didn't like the kind of attention that she got. Now, I agree with you about, even on my website, it says Xander Gibb with an unapologetic response to the world around him. But you still have to be responsible for what you put out there. And I don't think that this was very tasteful, because if this had been 2 or 3 years ago and somebody had, say I as a comedian went and worked with a videographer and had a mock-up of President Obama's head and was holding it by the hair and blood was dripping from his neck, I would have been crucified, and I would have been a racist, and I would have been the worst person that God ever put breath into.
Yeah,
now, one second. Let me finish my point.
Go on. Sorry.
Let me finish my point. And the other side of this for me is that people have said that why didn't people find it offensive when there were effigies of Obama hanging from a tree and things like that? Some of us did. You know, a lot of us did. Because there's enough to say about Obama without involving his family, without involving his race, without talking about his, just being generally distasteful.
But hang on. That's a completely different analogy. That's outrageous. To say right, for a start, the French invented the guillotine, okay, but we've been decapitating people forever.
Right.
All right. So it doesn't matter what race you are, whether you cut somebody's head off is irrelevant. To hang a black man from a tree in America is a massive statement. That's a huge difference. So that would have been a massive... If Kathy Griffin had been hanging a black man from a tree, that is a completely different statement, Xander. So that's a bit inflammatory to start with. And if you've been hanging a black man from a tree, you and I would have been having a completely different conversation.
It's not. And I'll tell you for why. Because the point that I'm making, it's about the lack of respect for the office of president. You don't have to like Donald Trump. In fact, you know, I didn't up until, I kind of, got to know him a bit better. I've been around there for several times.
But you're allowed to have a complete lack of respect for your president. Who cares? Isn't that free speech? I think that Theresa May should be put against a wall and shot.
Wow.
I think she's a disgusting human being. I have the right to say that because I live in a country. Well, I live in a country with free speech. Kathy Griffin has the right to do that.
No, she doesn't.
As far as I'm concerned,
she doesn't.
Why doesn't she have the right to do that?
Let me answer the question before you carry on. she has the right to free speech, but that was beyond free speech. Because with the things that are going on in the world, the images that we're seeing coming from places like Afghanistan and Syria, where people are being beheaded, and then because basically you've got to kill someone to cut their head off, and this went way too far. And the thing is that nobody is above, commentary. Nobody is above people having an opinion about them. But what about some? Wait a minute. What about some nutcase sees this, what she's done, and thinks, "Let me go and cut the president's head off." There are people in this country that are so mentally unstable and don't like the president that it only takes something like this to disturb them.
But that's like saying, what if somebody read a Stephen King book, and thought, what a good idea to go and blow up the school. And how close are they going to get to the president to cut his head off, Xander? Honestly, I think that's a bit reactionary.
So really?
People don't like what she's done, and they've said they don't like it. So she made a mistake. It's up to her how she apologises. And as a comedian, I've written, read my book.
She didn't. Really, she didn't apologize.
The only thing I wouldn't go near as a comedian, honestly, is pedophilia. Anything else, as far as I'm concerned, is open territory. It's not something I would choose to use, no. But it's something she chose to do.
But she didn't apologize. That's the thing.
I've seen her go near before, to be honest. So she's obviously gone for something she thought would be controversial and it would get a press coverage. Well,
but
there you go, Kathy.
She didn't apologize. She apologized that she didn't. She actually said she was sorry she got the reaction she did. She's never apologized to the president. She should have apologized to him directly, and she didn't do that. I kind of think that this went too far. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I just think there are boundaries. It's like, look at the time. Look at when I lived in London and I was doing stand-up comedian. When I was doing stand-up comedy, and there were things that I wouldn't talk about. There were things that you shouldn't talk about. And although being comedian is about pushing the boundaries, with the political climate in this country, to go ahead and do that was just not right.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I don't want people to think that you're not. But where do you draw? What concerns me is who are we? Where does that line get drawn when you say this is too much? Where does it start? Because if it was the opposition party, would we be having this argument?
Yes.
Would we be having this conversation?
Yes.
I don't think we would.
We would. Because we would. I'll tell you for why. Because this is the thing. Some of us can step away from the partisan element of things and actually look at what is about decency. I've had fights with people that have been insulting about Michelle Obama. Because the thing is that, Barack and Michelle Obama, aside of their politics, I'm sure they're a really nice couple. I'm sure I'd have a great dinner out with them and great conversations, but just not about politics. So there are some of us.
Go out with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I would, because I would just be very curious. I would have to be able to.
Only with security.
No, I would. Yeah. Oh, only with a gun in my pocketbook. But
exactly.
that would be a different thing. But
but there's a question then to you. Would you have found it offensive if she was holding Hillary Clinton's head in her hand?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. You're a bigger man than me.
I know, but let's not go there. It's a family show. But seriously, the thing is for me that you can't have moral outrage and only have it in some situations. Because to take your example, if I can't think of a conservative alternative, but if the conservative alternative to Kathy Griffin, let's say me, but I've got better taste, I'm holding aloft a mock-up of a decapitated head of Hillary. My conservative counterparts would not be pleased with me because I have a stand.
Can I just please state here? I'm not saying that I condone it. I'm not saying that I condone violence. What I'm saying is a comedian went for getting press coverage, and she got it, and it went badly wrong.
Right.
What I'm saying is that that's what happened, and it
Right.
doesn't make her Rasputin. But it's still freedom of speech. It's still but it doesn't mean. Yeah, I mean, you can't
Right.
suddenly turn her. I mean, if some nutter is going to stand up and say, "I'm going to try and kill the president," that's not Kathy Griffin's responsibility or fault.
I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I want to just quote something that somebody said in the live feed. I actually think it was Nick that said it. Yeah, it was. An implied threat is still a threat. And the implication was, in order to have Donald Trump's severed head in your hand, you would have to cut it off. And the line is drawn for me when the violence comes
so
into
to have
it.
the words peace in your hand, then it would have to occur.
The
so
what?
That's a little bit of a naive thing to believe, because that's the
because
same
there's
thing.
no.
It really is the same thing as saying
There's no violence.
If you watch a horror movie, then that horror movie has caused you to go out and kill people.
No, because there's no violence.
And I'm not going to accept that. But from anybody.
Well, you do have to.
You are responsible for your own actions.
You are.
Watching Kathy Griffin holding a cartoon head is not going to turn you into a serial killer. You're either capable of that violence or you're not.
It might do. How do you not know that I haven't got a box of cornflakes in the cupboard? I'm going to go and beat my neighbor to death with it.
I've seen you.
You said a serial killer. Hey, don't go there because they know about my, addiction to pizza. But I want to change the topic because otherwise we'll only talk about one thing, and I think this next thing is just as controversial, if not more, because shortly after President Trump appeared in the Rose Garden with his head intact, no thanks to Kathy Griffin, in the Rose Garden yesterday, and announced his decision to pull the United States out of the Paris Climate Accord, with a pair of White House officials spoke with reporters about the move. Now, they could not provide a lot of answers to the major questions about the withdrawal, including how Mr. Trump came to his decision and whether the president believes in the science behind climate change. Now, although Mr. Trump had expressed interest in reaching a new agreement that he said he would be more favorable to the U.S., the White House representatives provided no information on what that might look like, or how the accord would be revised when other countries have said that it cannot be negotiated. Now, in the Rose Garden speech, Mr. Trump framed the move as the fulfillment of his campaign promise and suggested that the climate pact, unfairly disadvantaged the American economy. He said the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord, but begin negotiations to re-enter the Paris Accord or an entirely new transaction on terms that are fair to the United States, its businesses, its workers, and its people, its taxpayers. So we're getting out, Mr. Trump said. Given that Europe has held the United Kingdom to ransom for over 40 years, and I'm not saying we don't need to cut emissions, because we do, in order to preserve the planet for future generations, but why should we have to do that with the knife at our throat from Europe? And why did the pissy little Euro twats not agree to even sit down and negotiate? It was all or nothing. So if it was that important, why not sit down and negotiate it? Now, the first thing I want to ask you, Tyhe, is I know, like myself, you are kind of, you're green and you want to, you want to save the planet, etc., etc. But surely if the planet is that important and that so much worth saving, surely this is something that should have been open for discussion.
Absolutely. And, believe it or not, the first thing that needs to be acknowledged here is, now you and I have discussed this before, Bush Jr. many years ago said in a summit meeting, and this is recorded history, you can check this out.
Yeah,
he
true.
said, if the rest of the world makes a bit more of an effort, America doesn't have to.
Yeah.
So we know that's recorded. But also we know worldwide, we absolutely have the technology to stop using fossil fuels and to stop using all the destructive energies that we use right now. The reason we're not using them is because petrochemical companies, etc., still make billions of dollars in profits. And that's why they're not used. Okay. So again, now everything I've just said about, or what I've said in past shows, I've also said, and Thomas, as I've said as well, one of the things I love about Trump is he speaks as one of us,
right,
not as an inbred politician.
Right.
So he goes out there and speaks as a human being. And I love this about him, because he does go out and says, hang on a minute, why are you asking me this? No, shut up. This is what we're going to do.
Right.
And I genuinely respect this in him, because he's right. Because what he's saying to everybody is, hang on, we can change this. Now, I'm hoping what he's saying to them is, we're not paying anymore. Make this difference, because we can stop using fossil fuels. We don't have to. Because green energy, genuinely, it's not just a potential, it's here.
Right.
It absolutely is here. And it's not just something, everybody thinks about green energy, or we all have to wear hemp cardigans and we all have to use food. It genuinely is not. It's not only convenient, it's easy, and it's also beautiful. And it really is here.
Right.
But we've got to knock down the people who are in control at the minute, because they're the ones that are destroying the world. Now, if anybody thinks that climate change isn't real, just again Google it. Google one of the people that invade our privacy constantly are also the people that feed us the information. Sea levels rise, the polar ice caps melt. Now, you have to be a complete moron to not understand how that's happening.
But that's a cyclical activity, Tyhe. The planet goes through cycles. And what do you think the Ice Age was,
But the point is, we're changing. Things change. Do you know what I mean? It's not rocket science.
Let me just say...
Is what I'm saying.
Let me just say something, because...
Says to you, there's nothing wrong. Look at what's happening in the world. Of course things are going... Of course things are changing.
Right. Being a climate change denier does not mean that I am saying that we don't need to start doing things differently, because we absolutely do. But here's my problem with this, right? And you'll appreciate this, because you've lived in England, most of your life, if not all of it.
All my life.
You will be aware of the legal and binding nature of what was entered into when the UK went into Europe. Now, Europe financially benefited more than the UK did from Britain being part of Europe. And
absolutely.
And so the Brexit was just such a brilliant thing, in my opinion. I don't like all the racism that's been attached to it, because that was unnecessary. But this, to me, is very similar to that. Because what is happening, and it's the same with NATO, that these pissy Euro liberals, like Marcon or whatever his name is, who's just in charge in France, and Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel, how dare you tell anyone else how to run their country after the shitstorm you've made of Germany? Don't be telling my president what to do. And this all comes down to money. Yes, we need to reduce carbon emissions, but you know what? I have a feeling that in the next couple of weeks, our president will turn around and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reduce carbon emissions in the United States by doing this, and this. We will not have a knife to our neck from the Europeans to tell us what to do anymore. This is what Brexit is all about. Brexit is about the United Kingdom saying, screw you, Europe. You're not getting any more of our money. You know what's happened to the fishing industry and the farming industry because of Europe, Tyhe.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, Xander. I couldn't agree more. But the problem is, if we can get rid of the Tories through Brexit, it will be fantastic. But I think you're absolutely right with President Trump. He is going out and he is breaking down these outrageous long-term claws that people have had into us across the world, and he's had into you across the world, and into America across the world. He's breaking down these massive problems, that have been there forever, and also have been getting worse, that have tried to take over the world, or are taking over the world, in these massive tranches. Right. And he's saying, no, I'm not having this, and he's breaking them. And he really is. He's smashing them down. So for anybody, even if you don't like Trump as in what he's doing and saying, oh, he's not a politician. Well, he's not a politician.
No, never said he was. Never said he was. But
let him do what he's doing, because what he's actually doing, whether you like it or not, what he's actually doing, to some degree, is saving you. So, and what he's doing in Europe, the problems he's causing in Europe are good as well, because they're vibrationally good. And what I mean by vibrationally good is he's shaking shit up. Excuse my language, but he really is. And he's making people pay attention, because everybody has to pay attention to what he's doing, because they have to look. When he's saying, no, I'm not doing that, everybody has to look in that direction.
Absolutely. But
change is commandment saying, I'm not doing this because you're not doing your job.
Right. But part of the problem is that for the last 8 years, America has been used to cordial and apologetic on behalf of America.
Yes.
And the ideology with Obama was not pro-American. I'm sorry, but it wasn't. America did not benefit from having Obama at the helm. And this is a guy, excuse my French, pardon, this is a guy with balls in the White House, and this is what we've needed. For the past 8 years, America has been a joke in the eyes of the rest of the world, and now they're finally sitting up and taking notice. And because a few pissy liberals don't like it, we're supposed to sit up and say, oh, bad Mr. Trump, let's impeach him. Yeah, 2 scoops of ice cream, for God's sake, let's impeach him. I just think...
and I couldn't agree, but do you know what, Xander, and the weird thing is, as people know, and we'll always say this throughout the show, you and I have been close friends forever.
Yeah,
I can't remember how long, 20 odd years.
25 years.
25, 28 years, I don't know. But I've been a UK version of a liberal all my life, but a liberal to me doesn't mean somebody who lies down and plays dead.
Right.
It's somebody who stands up and fights.
Right.
For what they mean. But suddenly, now in the past few years, you're right, a liberal now suddenly means somebody who lies down and plays dead.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
But
when did that happen?
It's interesting how...
It's not who I am.
It's interesting how, I've said this to you before, that while I was in the UK, I could never have called myself a conservative. But the Democratic Party in the United States left me. I didn't leave it. And it changed so much that it didn't represent me anymore. It didn't represent me as an American or as a human being or as a gay person, or any of those things, because they're oh gosh, there's a wasp in the studio. And I don't mean a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant either. But the ideologies with liberals has changed so much that it's all about entitlement, and you deserve this, and you should be getting that, all ridiculous things, free college and free phones.
That's the thing, isn't it? That so much has changed now, because the 1% is not really 1%. I mean, the 1% now is so disgracefully high that even what the people that thought they were the middle classes are really now so low. Everything is so messed up now. It's beyond recognition.
It is.
It's FUBARD, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
you can work out that anachronism yourself.
It totally is. It totally is.
We are really genuinely beyond recognition. As I said to you on the show, was it last week or the week before? 17 people in the United Kingdom died of starvation last year.
Disgusting.
And there are people who think, oh, that's not that many. The moment you think that, you're lost. It's terrifying.
But isn't even one person dying of starvation a tragedy? Because the thing is that we've turned into a nation of I can't even put it into words. There are some people that need help, but as a part of that process, we've got to get rid of those that are bucking the system.
But why are there people? But that's the other thing, isn't it? Because consider, in the year 2017, why are there people who are still starving? Why are we in a planet that people are still? Why are the children still starving to death? Why do we still need services? Why are children still being murdered and raped? Why? Just why? Shall we start the world with why? You know?
We don't. The show's not long enough to kind of go into that, but
Exactly.
we should.
Exactly. But you know what I mean?
Tyhe,
Why
one
is it
second,
that place?
Tyhe.
It's outrageous.
1 second, Tyhe. I have to.
Oh my God! It's a take.
Hello?
Is it time for takeaway?
It's the Maxine Waters wig line here. Would you like the Joyanne Reid special, or would you like the Maxine bald wig?
Now, are those Zsa Zsa Gabor coupons still active on the new Maxine Waters wig line, or is that not active?
Definitely not. We don't take coupons, and we don't have cheapskates on this show. I think you're thinking of another inferior show like the Kathy Griffin show, maybe.
No coupons, but racism is welcome.
What racism's totally welcome. It's the blue people that we don't want on this show. Every other color is acceptable, but blue people, get your butts out of here. This is obviously our regular Friday night friend. He's known as the Truth Fairy, but he is known to us as Thomas F. Schmitz from Conservatives for Palin. So welcome back to the show, Thomas. How is the world with you?
Oh, it's great. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's Friday.
I'm fabulous, darling. Apparently, I've upset everybody in America with Kathy. I'm sure you'll have something to tell me about Kathy.
Oh, my goodness. Did you see that this morning?
I saw some of it because I was at work, and obviously I don't watch Facebook at work very much.
Oh, my goodness.
But
I mean, she turned herself into the victim.
Yeah.
Was, crying about the death threats that she got for the death threat that she made against the president, and saying things like, oh, this has never happened in the history of the country, and this is unprecedented. Well, no, it's kind of standard operating procedure for the Secret Service. That's their job, and I can't believe I'm under investigation. Well, Madonna was investigated, so...
Yeah, but was Snoop...
She was investigated. That's what the Secret Service do.
But was...
Artist Sabo here in L.A. was investigated for tweeting about zombies doing harm to President Obama. And they flew the Secret Service out to Los Angeles to ask him about the zombies that he tweeted about harming the president. So no, this is not unprecedented. This is precedented. This is what happens when you make perceived threats against the President of the United States. That's just how it is. And she made her bed, now she can lie in it.
But tell me...
She's a history of this. She's got a history.
Of course. Her career is... her flagging career is built on it.
Premeditated selection of children that she intends to abuse, and her own comments are going to come right around and bite her in the butt.
Right.
She's said in 2011, I'm going after Willow Palin this year, who was 15 or 16 at the time. She said just in December to Vulture magazine, I'm going to go after Barron Trump and be the first one to attack Barron Trump. And so, she's in trouble. And when you even see Senator Al Franken pulling out of his scheduled appearance with her this weekend, something's up. She's being
No, hang on. Wait. Stop. She said publicly she was deliberately going to go after a child.
She did.
Oh, yeah, to Vulture magazine at the Equality Gala on the 9th of December.
Yeah.
She deliberately said, I'm going to go and attack a child. Comically, comedic.
Yeah, she said it.
Yeah.
She was asked if children were off limits, and she said no because he was mean to Hillary. Nothing's off limits, and I'm edgy, and so I'll go out there and I'm going to go after Barron Trump. So,
Okay, right, so hang on. Sorry, Thomas. I know you're only in a few. Then I retract everything I've said in defense of Kathy Griffin on this show earlier, just to be clear.
Wow.
So, sorry, Thomas, carry on.
I want to stop you for 1 second there, Thomas, because I just want to ask you about one of the things we were talking about earlier was, about freedom of speech. And Tyhe and I kind of disagreed a little, and I don't know if he's changed his mind on that now, but where does the right to free speech end? Because I think that her commentary was actually classified as hate speech.
Well, I don't really believe in hate speech. I think there are things that people shouldn't say. But
Give me an
I don't
example.
think there should be any speech codes like they have in Canada. I think that's a slippery slope and very dangerous when you start controlling words.
Give me an example, Thomas.
You can't say those words. People say words that they shouldn't say and then get in trouble, maybe being shunned by their neighbors or in their community. So be it. That's the consequence. But I kind of have a problem with the government stepping in and saying you can say these words and not these words. And, they have speech codes in Canada. So,
so give me an example of something.
Where the line was, I don't know.
Thomas, give me an example of something you shouldn't say. Because I made a point earlier was that, if someone had done the same with Obama, that we would have been equally outraged, because we would have been, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, and people forget. Remember the rodeo clown who put on an Obama mask for his rodeo? He was ordered to go to sensitivity training. And that was just a man who was a clown who put on an Obama mask. Heaven forbid if someone had an effigy of Obama being decapitated, that would have been...
See, I'm sorry, I don't have any problem with this decapitation. I don't have any problem with freedom of speech, as long as it's not actually incite. See, I get a bit weird with this. Attacking children, no, it's absolutely there's no space for attacking children. End of story. But if you're the president or the prime minister of somewhere, then you're fodder. I'm sorry, you put yourself up there. It's like you or I or anybody. It's like being a pop star or whatever. You put yourself up there for it. I don't understand why anybody's offended by it. I really don't.
Not even from the content.
The Secret Service, and part of their charter and their job is to investigate any and all perceived threats of the president.
Oh, I understand that, Thomas. Yes, I understand that, absolutely.
We have an artist here in Los Angeles whose name is Sabo, and he tweeted about the zombie of Lee Harvey Oswald coming back, and the Secret Service did an investigation. That's just part of their job. That's how it is.
That's terrible. Now, you and I had a conversation last week about the idea that Kathy, whatever her face, is over here being investigated because of her tweets. The idea that the Secret Service were looking for a zombie of Lee Harvey Oswald is even scarier, frankly.
Where
are we going with that
Katie
one?
Hopkins.
I understand somebody making a threat against your president being investigated. Of course, I understand that. That should always be taken seriously. But to look for a zombie, where are we going with that one?
Well, you just have to go. You have to go to the DNC clearly for that.
They have to investigate any perceived threat, and that was a perceived threat according to their guidelines. And that's just how it is.
Absolutely.
It's wacky. There are no zombies, but they had to do it.
But there are, Thomas, at the DNC. I told you this. There are, it's unfair that you cannot identify the zombies that are at the DNC, because that's, frankly, anti-zombie. And
Justin Bieber, obviously, is still performing.
Of course. Of course. So I want to change the directions a little bit just because of time, but this is something that I want to talk about. I want to talk about President Trump's announcement yesterday. Tyhe and I have discussed this a little bit already about America's exit, per exit, out of the Paris Hilton agreement.
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to go? Or
Go. You go.
Oh, no, I'll be quiet now, Thomas, sorry.
We've been surprised because this is what then candidate Trump campaigned on, and if it was so gosh darn important, then why didn't Obama put it through Congress and make it a law? He didn't. It was non-binding, and so we flushed it down the crapper. And, when you really read it, we had to bear the burden of it. China was allowed to keep on polluting. They didn't have to do anything. And, it's just kind of this wealth redistribution scam. There's a lot of social justice in it, too, which I didn't like. And so, I don't see why anyone's surprised. This is what he said he was going to do, and he did it.
Right.
It's very refreshing to have a candidate campaign one way and govern the same way, too.
I know. Gosh, I can't think of the last time that happened. Now, one of the points I made and one of the points Tyhe and I discussed were that this was kind of a little bit similar to Brexit, from the perspective that for the last 40 years, Europe has held the United Kingdom to ransom, and they've ended up worse off financially because of their involvement in Europe. And I really do applaud President Trump for having the sphericals to actually do this, because let's face it, whatever he does, he gets criticized, but he really, you know, his point was, you know, I've been elected to take care of the people of, where was it? Philadelphia, not Paris.
He's right on that.
Or
yeah.
wherever
I mean,
it was.
you know, he's not a citizen of the world, and none of us are. You know, we're citizens of the United States of America,
Right.
and I don't see why anyone should be surprised that the President of the United States of America is looking out for the people of the United States of America. And, you know, I saw the statement by the Prime Minister of Canada. Well, you know, you pay for it. Why don't you go on a trip to Saudi Arabia and come back with billions of dollars of jobs for your country, like our president did, and pay for it that way? You know, if you're so outraged, do something about it. Get off your butt, your effeminate butt, I might add, and do something about it.
Your
you know,
Castro-esque butt.
Everything. You know, these are sovereign countries we're talking about.
So I want to ask you both this because I think it's kind of pertinent. Tyhe, I want to ask you first, why do you think there is this ideology in the UK right now? If you want to be pro-UK, but that is racist, and then I'm going to ask you the same question, Thomas, about the United Kingdom. So Tyhe, why do you think there is this ideology that being pro-UK means you're racist?
Oh, I think because it's been manipulated right now to believing that if you're pro-UK, you're anti-immigration.
Right.
Because that's the way the press has set it up. And you have to understand, as you, I, and Thomas have discussed in the past, that we have the BBC here, which is the equivalent of CNN and whatever, Fox, who basically manipulate the press, manipulate stories, and they just make up stories here. So that's why it's perceived that way. But there's a huge problem going on. We're literally weeks away from 2 weeks away from the general election as well. So it's massive here. So that's what the UK want the world to believe. That's what the government want the world to believe.
Right.
Is that there's a huge racist problem going on here, and that's not true.
Right. Thomas, same question to you, but obviously we're going to exchange UK for America.
Well, it's this globalist nonsense that's been shoved down people's throats via academia, via entertainment, and via Washington, D.C. for several decades now. And so, you know, you're a bad person if you believe in sovereignty, which is, you know, the Pilgrims left for a reason. And, you know, we're a sovereign nation. That's not my opinion. But these days, when you have this small group of well-organized yet very loud people pushing this narrative that, oh, we're citizens of the world and all this stuff, and if you don't believe in that, you're a bad person. But, you know, when it comes right down to it, you know, we're citizens of America, and we believe in American sovereignty. That's a good thing.
But don't forget, Jesus was a refugee, Thomas.
Oh, that's right. Jesus was a refugee, according to the church down the street from me,
Exactly. I just kind of want to make a final point, really, about the fact that, you know, 20 years ago, it used to be drummed into young people about being patriotic, but it's like you're not allowed to be patriotic now because it's almost offensive, and I spit in the face of that because surely patriotism is what is going to keep our country and our traditions going. And if we don't stand up for these traditions and our patriotism now, then we are going to lose it for good, right?
Is that me or Tyhe?
Either.
How are you going?
I'll tell you, I would say, let's go on a global scale, that as long as the light is on, the darkness can't prevail.
Okay, absolutely. Thomas, let's come to you for the final word.
It just boggles my mind, and it also makes me laugh, you know, when the Democrats try to be patriotic, they just never quite pull it off with a level of believability. It's just not genuine. But yes, you know, now the flag is controversial, and, you know, the national anthem is controversial. We've got what's his name, Colin Kaepernick,
Yeah.
refusing to put his hand over his heart for the national anthem. And so, everything that is good and great about America is now controversial. But again, this is a small group of very loud, well-organized individuals and fields within academia and the media
Right.
who are pushing this nonsense. And the people are smarter than that. That's how Trump won. The people didn't believe the media. Just that couple weeks ago, that candidate in Montana that won after he was accused of body slamming a reporter, when they polled the people who voted for him, they said, well, the story came out so fast and so hard, we didn't really believe it. So, the media have done themselves no favor by pushing this nonsense, because the people are smarter than that. The people will always fix things.
Because they don't have a narrative, do they? They don't have something that they're working towards. We have to stop there, I'm afraid, but I'm sure we could talk all night. Thank you to everyone who's made today's show possible. Thanks to our guest, Thomas S. Schmitz. Tell people where they can find you, Thomas.
Certainly on Twitter, it's at Thomas S. Schmitz, at ThomasSSChmitz, at Thomas S. Schmitz, and you can find me as an editor and contributor at www.conservatives4palin.com. That's the number 4, conservatives4palin.com. Twitter at Thomas S. Schmitz.
And Thomas will be back on Monday night as my co-host. I think Stephen is our guest, but I couldn't swear to that. You have a wonderful weekend, sir. Give our best to Jim, and we will speak to you very soon.
I will do that.
Bye,
Thanks,
Thomas.
Xander. Good night, Tyhe.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Thomas S. Schmitz from Conservatives for Palin. Make sure you check him out. All of his contact details are on the Xrad Facebook page for today, this week even. And as are Tyhe's. Tell people where they can find you and how they can find out more about you. And read your book, which is called... Go on.
What's it called? It's called Mother's Ruin.
It's called
the Reclamation Mothers.
Yes.
It's not going to be available for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Because I've taken it down. It's being reissued.
Yes.
And all my information. You can just follow me on Twitter, and you can find my information on the fabulous Xrad website at the moment.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go away now. And if I've upset anybody tonight, unlike Kathy, I don't care. and I've loved tonight's show. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, as always, I love you, Xander.
I love you too, Tyhe.
It's always a pleasure.
Have a great weekend, and give our best to Debs, and I will speak to you very soon.
I will.
All
Take
right.
care, honey. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. That was the fabulous Tyhe Paul Egar. Make sure you check him out. His book is being republished in the next couple of weeks. It's called Mother's Ruin, Book 1 of the Reclamation Wars. Make sure you go and check that out. Ways you can support this show. You can click the share button. That's free. Let me see at least 5 of you clicking that share button right now. Click the share button. Some of you have a share aversion. Share that show right now. You can buy the book, which is called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House. It's semi-autobiographical, and it's by me, Xander Gibb. You can buy my album, which is called The Platinum Prequel. You can buy that from iTunes and also via CD Baby. And you can also donate to the show. We just sent links. We just put links in the live feed. Thanks to everyone who's made today's show possible. Thanks to Tyhe for being my co-host, Tyhe Paul Egar. Thanks to Thomas S. Schmitz for being our guest. Thanks to Joy and Reed for being so good to take the rise out of. Thank you for calling me racist, Joy. I'll wear it as a badge of honor. I look forward to your wig line coming out with Maxine Wiggy Waters. And thanks to everybody in the live feed. Have a great weekend. Stick around and catch me on the Joe Show, the Joe Machine Show, which is called The Real Side, right after this. Click your share button before you go. If you love me, I'll be back on Monday, I promise. I love you all. Bye-bye.
Love, it has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change when it was